Hi guys, in this video I'm going to talk about the crystal children. So if you think you may be one, or maybe you have a child who's a crystal child and you want to know more, keep watching. Okay, so I'm here to talk about the crystal children and what they are all about. I made a video about the Blu-ray people. I'm slowly working my way through the different ones, but they're not being done in chronological order. They're kind of more being made as I feel inspired to make them. These videos about these different energies that have been coming into our lives. So, you know, they're different energies that incarnate on this planet at different times, and they've been the Blu-rays, the indigos, the rainbows, the crystals, and it's a description of the energy vibration that they came in on. So yeah, that's what that's all about. So, but there are a few ways you can tell. I always kind of feel crystal children because I'm also an empath, so, and they are very empathic and very, very sensitive. It's like their aura is almost crystalline, I suppose. Maybe that's where the name came from. It's very pure, it's very clear generally, unless they've been put on drugs, which has happened at times because of their overwhelming sensitivity. You know, they've been given things like Ritalin because people thought there was something wrong with them. No, they're very, very pure, very clear, very loving. As small children, they'll quite often spend a lot of time being very cuddly, being a little bit quieter, not as boisterous as some other children, and also loving animals and nature. That's also a very big part of who they are. It soothes them, so encourage that if you've got one, or if you are one, make sure you do that. So here's some ways of telling who the crystal children are. They're very telepathic. Even if they don't understand it, they often know what other people are thinking or are going to say before they say it. So they're very, very good at that. They're very good at reading people. If you've got a child who's a crystal child, don't try and lie to them, they'll know. So it's better to be honest, and you don't always have to give them all the details, but just, yeah, give them a rough idea of what's going on. Number two, a lot of them have food sensitivities. You know, they are very sensitive to different chemicals and things in our food these days, and some are sensitive to gluten and dairy and things like that. The best food for these beautiful sensitive little beings is when they're young, is actually to let them graze on fruit as much as they want to, and to keep their diet pretty simple and pretty whole and unadulterated, you know, keep it pretty clean. So that works best for them generally. Number three, they're generally thought of as old souls. They seem to have wisdom and knowledge. When you look into their eyes, you can feel it, you can sense it, you can pick up on it. So there's this real feeling of being old souls. Number four is they often have quite large or bright eyes. Their eyes are very, very prominent, not that they stick out, but that you certainly notice them. They have quite noticeable eyes. So yeah, that's another way you can tell. So yeah, and this goes whether you are one or whether you have children who may be crystal children. Number five is, yeah, they're peace bringers. They like to make peace. If people around them are in conflict or arguing, that makes them actually very uncomfortable because their vibration is about peace and love and acceptance and wholeness. So if one of these beautiful beings is in a very angry household, they often become quite withdrawn and can start having quite antisocial behaviors and things like that. So that is really too rough an environment for them. It's like they need to be protected a little bit. Yeah, six, they have this beautiful clear fine auric field that's initially very, very pristine. I mean, we all get changed somewhat by life and experiences and things, but it is a very clear, and it's something I perceive to be an energy that doesn't demand anything. You know, some people's energies, you can feel them as sort of being a little bit grasping or needing, whereas these crystal children, it's no, there's none of that really. They're also, number 7, very affectionate as children. Sometimes that changes as they get older and they want to be teenagers and want to be cool, or if the affection's not returned, you know, they may stop doing that. But naturally, as small children, they're very, very cuddly, very affectionate, very loving. And yeah, if that's encouraged, they'll continue to be that way as they grow up and as they get older. Often number 8, often they've started talking later than other children. You know, it might have taken them a little bit longer to get into this whole communicating with words thing, and it's quite simply because naturally they don't actually need words to communicate. They read so much and from people. They read so much from people and feel so much from people. They don't actually need to talk with people to know things. So sometimes they just don't bother talking as early as other children. So don't panic if your child's doing that. It's okay. They will talk when they're ready. Number 9, they're often animal lovers. Animals they just get them. They're great with them. Animals love them because there's something so peaceful about these crystal people. So yeah, encourage them to spend time around animals. It's really good for them. And number 10, of course, they're real empaths. They feel, sense, experience things very strongly. So that's why it's important to keep them in a fairly good environment. You know, like even with schooling and things like that. Huge, massive, rough, rugged schools aren't really their thing. You're better off trying to take them to a smaller, less stressful school, like a small school or country school, where they can develop proper connections with people rather than being overwhelmed by huge crowds of people. So keep that in mind if you have a crystal child. And number 11, they love crystals. Surprise, surprise. Yes, I used to sell crystals, and I actually met quite a few when they came to my stall. To look at crystals and to touch them, and you know, they didn't always buy them, but you could see that they were just riveted and drawn and wanted to touch them. And sometimes I gave them a crystal, real connection with that. So yeah, these crystal children, they're pretty amazing. They started arriving in the 80s, but just a few 1980s. The majority of them came in during the 1990s, and that was the biggest influx of them. So yeah, the ones in the 80s were sort of the, I don't know, the way showers in a way, and then the rest incarnated. They're very ancient souls and came in after the indigos. It's like the indigos were a little bit less sensitive in a way than the crystal children, so that they could kind of pave the way and make it easier for the crystal children to come in because of that heightened sensitivity. It's quite sad because, you know, they've been labelled at times as being a bit autistic or having Asperger's and or things like that, but they basically actually live somewhat in a different realm to a lot of humanity. You know, they very much have their own reality, which is much broader than many people's. So please, yeah, don't be too quick to label these beautiful, beautiful beings. Keep them safe, take care of them, make sure they don't have to deal with too much rough stuff when they're still young. If you are one, you're not going to be like everybody else. You're not going to enjoy the same things as everybody else. So celebrate what you do enjoy. You'll probably be drawn more to natural things and even natural therapies and more gentle music, and also, yeah, the natural things like crystals, like gemstones. Medically, you'll respond better to natural therapies rather than the medical system. Okay, so people break bones or need surgery, and yes, then you have to go to a doctor. But for general day-to-day stuff, plants, remedies made from plants, flower remedies, things like that work really, really well with you guys. It's much preferable to taking some really harsh drugs. And also work-wise, doing something creative and meaningful is really important. I don't see most of the crystal children as being a whole generation of people who follow the status quo. They like to do things that matter to them. They generally like to make a difference. You'll probably meet quite a few crystal children, you know, working in professions like helping, caring for people, all those sort of things, nursing, because they really, yeah, do want to make people happy and bring peace to the place. And there will be quite a few who actually make a huge difference on this planet by bringing more of a loving and gentle and kind vibration through, and also showing people how to live like that. I've met quite a few young people who I feel are crystal children, and I think they're absolutely amazing. They often have a very heightened sense of spiritual awareness. The things that people in my age group talk about or strive for example, quite often for these young beings is just natural. It's just how they are and who they are and how they live, and they don't need to read books or do anything special or go to courses or classes to learn how to be psychic or spiritual. It's actually a natural part of their being. Sometimes it's good for them to have that little bit of guidance because it is quite a powerful thing. So guidance does help, allowing them to gently get into that rather than being overwhelmed by too many energies and too many forces. So yeah, but I think they're incredible beings, and I'm so pleased they're here. So if you are a crystal child, thank you for coming coming into this world. You're all here to, yeah, change it for the better, slowly, one step at a time. You know, this is a process, it's a dance, and the different forces are all kind of getting stronger and louder, and there'll be people coming from fear and control, and then there's the crystal children who are coming from love and peace, which is actually much better than fighting the fearful, controlling ones. It's actually a much better energy to counteract that. So you're here for a very powerful reason, and it's not to submit and live life how everybody else does. It's actually to forge a new way, to make people come from the heart more, to start focusing on what's actually important in this world, and for people to see that they are all one, and that we can disagree with each other but still care and love each other. So yeah, thank you for coming. And if you do have a child, who or teenager probably, who is a crystal child, yeah, just be there for them. They actually know a lot, so don't ever try to fib to them, they'll know. Also, yeah, don't try to put them into really harsh environments when they're young. They won't deal with it very well. If your child's or young person's at a school that is very harsh, try and find one that's maybe a bit softer, a bit gentler, and they will actually do a lot better there. So anyway, to all of you, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas. I will make a tarot card reading for the week video before Christmas, but lots of love and have a wonderful time. See you all next time.